Hey there folks, Aldershot here, and today we're going to do a quick look into Jotun, developed by Thunder Lotus Games, and is on sale on Steam at the regular price at around $15 USD. Jotun's definitely a very interesting title. It is essentially an isometric adventure Viking game, if you will, and it's advertised to be hand animated and all that jazz, and yeah, it's actually pretty accurate. That's pretty much what the game is. But anyways, let's just jump into a game we already got started, just so we can check it out a little bit more. Now this is the Void, or the, oh god, I'm gonna butcher this, the Gununagagap, something like that. I said I was gonna butcher it, but anyways, this essentially serves as your home base or your hub, whatever you want to call it. This is where you're going to be selecting your levels to be playing in, right? So we're going to just go into the first level and show you what that's all about. And each level will have 2 stages in which you'll complete. Then it'll open up access to a boss fight, right? And we're going to just jump into the first stage of the first levels. Now, when I first took a look at Jotun, I expected it to be almost like an isometric brawler, if you will. That was an absolutely horrible assumption, because it's not. It's really not at all. It really is very much more like an adventure game. There's really not that much combat in the stages itself. The stages, they serve almost as like puzzles. And each stage will have his own obstacles and his own little gimmick, if you will, to, you know, for the player to get through before they reach the boss fight at the end, of course. And as you can see, the level design is fairly maze-like as well. And this isn't just this level. This is actually a pattern throughout the entire game. Like I said, each stage is designed almost like a labyrinth, right, where the player will have to find his own way. And there's some advantages and disadvantages with this design idea. The advantage, obviously, is that it gives the player a little bit more room to explore the game. It'll help extend the game's life and all that stuff. And there are certain things that's worthwhile exploring the game for, such as golden hearts, which will extend your HP bar, or relics, which will extend your healing, right? So there is that. Now, the disadvantage of this is that some of the level design is not consistent. Some of them are definitely better than others. The worst offenders are very frustrating, to the point where this maze-like design loops around back to the beginning, and you're left scratching your head. Where did I go wrong? Where the hell am I supposed to go? Oh god, the backtracking, right? So that's definitely an issue I drew from this game. Now, by the way, this is the relic that will extend your healing, which is right here. And I already got this one, so that's why nothing's happening, but there you go, right? So that's definitely an issue I take with this game, is that the level design is somewhat inconsistent. You know, some levels are a lot more frustrating than it needs to be, and yeah, that's definitely probably my biggest critique of Jotun, right? Now, other than that, let's just kind of talk about the mechanics a little bit. We have roll, of course, to help you dodge, and as you can see, we have a light attack. We also have a heavy attack, and I'm getting owned here. Heavy attack here, boom, right? Now do a lot of damage. Now, as I mentioned before, the combat's fairly light in this game. There's really not that much combat to be had. In fact, the attacks serve more as a way to unlock certain, I guess, small minor puzzles like these roots here, to get them out of your way so you can continue to your end goal of finishing this level. But yeah, there's really not that much combat. As you can see, it's just really these vines, and this entire level is just this vine, or these vines that will attack you, and you don't even have to fight them. And that's also a pattern in this game as well. I find a lot of the quote-unquote attack segments, or the combat segments in this game, are very optional. I can skip most of them, and the few attack segments where I can't, they serve more like set pieces than actual combat scenarios to challenge the player, right? But yeah, So anyways, I think like my favorite part of this game is obviously the art design. Something I want to talk about definitely. The art aesthetics is absolutely gorgeous. You know, the animation is fantastic. It is, you can tell it's definitely hand animated and all that stuff. It kind of reminds me of like old school Disney almost. So that's cool. I definitely like the art design. Now something else about Jotun that I really like is definitely the boss fights in this game. They are immensely impressive, immensely enjoyable. In fact, let's get out of this, go back to the void, that's what I'm going to call it now, and show you a boss fight in this game. Because again, it's definitely my favorite part of Jotun. Hopefully I'm pronouncing the title right. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong as well, but I'm pretty bad at that kind of stuff. But anyways, let's just head up here. This is just the first fight, or first boss fight of the game. So nothing too complicated, but regardless, very impressive when I first saw it. I was like, wow, this game is awesome. It actually kind of reminds me of, say, Shadow of the Colossus, or I guess more recently Titan Souls, and you'll see what I mean by that now. And by the way, this is a refreshing station where you'll be able to regenerate your HP and regain your healing abilities, right? So that's great. Alright, thanks, Lake Old Man Guy. Anyways, let's head up to the boss fight up here. So we chop this flower here, and I'll activate it. Now look at that. Look at the scaling in this game. That's impressive. I thought this was so cool, you know, like the boss is so much bigger than me. Whoa! But not just that, like the animation's top grade. The boss fights from the ones I've completed, I haven't finished the game yet, right? But the ones that I have completed, you know, they've been very well designed. They all have their own little gimmick, if you will. But they're enjoyable, and they make sense, and they're challenging to the player. And this is where the combat kind of shines a little bit more. You know, obviously you're fighting the boss, right? So anyways, let's chop this guy up. We knocked him out a little bit, so this is where the real damage happens. We'll take care of this Lotus here. Bam, just like that. And yeah, I really like the boss fights in this game. I kind of feel like it's the strongest element in Jotun. I almost kind of wish that they kind of presented this as more of the main feature of the game. I almost feel like the levels themselves is almost like padding to get to the best part of the game, which is definitely the boss fights. So yeah, the boss fights are absolutely fantastic. Now I kind of talked, you know, down on some of the level design in this game. That's not to say all the levels are bad. Some of them are actually quite enjoyable and actually quite ingenious in how the puzzles are presented. But they're not consistent. Some of them, like I mentioned earlier, are frustrating and unneeded so, right? A lot of them require backtracking and all this kind of stuff, and I'm just not a big fan of that. But the boss fights are consistently well done, they're consistently well designed, and they're consistently enjoyable, which I definitely like. And each boss fight will also draw on a certain, I guess you could say, gimmick of the levels getting here, right? So kind of echo what you've already experienced while trying to get to the boss fight, which makes sense, you know, thematically and through design and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so we're about to kill this guy. Boom, just like that. Just a little bit more. There we go, taken care of. So yeah, there you go, guys. That's basically Jotun. Very fun, I have to say, for the most part. I absolutely love the art design, I love the animation, I love the scaling of the boss fights, and the boss fights themselves are definitely my favorite part of this game. The levels, some levels are good, but some levels are frustrating and require way too much backtracking, way too much confusion, and that's definitely my least favorite part of the game, right? Is not necessarily bad level design, but it's inconsistent level design. But other than that, that's Jotun. So hopefully you folks enjoyed this. Hopefully you found this informative. And if you did, you know, show me some love, like, share, favorite, comments. If you haven't already, subscribe. I'll bring you lots more video games just like this. Thanks for watching, everyone. All the shout outs.